Welcome to this historical explainer. Okay, today we're taking a journey back in time to explore a place that honestly just defies imagination. We're going to unpack the story of a location that stood as the literal crown jewel of empires. It was this vibrant epicenter where East collided with West, and a fortress that commanded the respect and, let's be real, the absolute envy of every single ruler on the planet. Get ready, because the sheer scale of what we're about to discuss is absolutely awe-inspiring.
So, I want you to ask yourself, what city changed human history forever? We're talking about a mythic metropolis that served as the unrivaled center of the entire world for millennia. A place so unfathomably wealthy and powerful that countless armies just threw themselves at its gates, only to be completely broken and turned away. Now, before I actually give away its most famous name, let's look at exactly why this particular spot on the globe was destined for unparalleled greatness.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Before it was defined by towering stone walls, majestic domes, or its legendary emperors, this city's supreme power stemmed from what we can honestly only describe as a geographical cheat code. I mean it. It was built right on the shores of the Bosphorus, perfectly positioned as a triangular peninsula that acted as the vital, beating bridge between Europe and Asia. Basically, whoever controlled this exact point on the map, well, they controlled the world.
Let's take a closer look at the Bosphorus itself. This is an ancient term that actually translates beautifully to the passage of the bull. It's a critical, totally narrow strait of water measuring only about 1 or 1.5 miles wide. But seriously, don't let its size fool you. This waterway links the Sea of Marmara to the Black Sea, which basically meant that every single merchant ship, every global trade route, and every military fleet moving between these massive regions had to pass right under the watchful eyes of this city. It was the absolute, unavoidable toll booth of the ancient world.
And branching right off the Bosphorus is the second half of this geographic masterpiece, the Golden Horn. This brilliantly illustrates how perfect the geography was. It's an exceptionally calm, highly secure natural harbor stretching roughly 2 miles long and about half a mile wide. The Golden Horn provided this incredibly safe anchorage for literally thousands of ships, keeping them completely protected from both turbulent seas and enemy fleets. It effectively turned the city into an unrivaled powerhouse of commerce and naval supremacy.
Now, because of this unmatched geography, it probably won't surprise you that the city has ancient roots bathed in constant conflict. It was originally founded way back in 656 BC by a leader named Byzas who came from the region of Megara. But hey, a location this good doesn't stay quiet for long, right? It fell to the Persian king Darius in 485 BC before eventually being violently integrated into the Roman world by Emperor Septimius Severus around 193 AD. And all of that, it just set the stage for an explosive transformation in 330 AD.
For centuries, you see, this strategic masterpiece was known as Ancient Byzantium. And man, it was the definitive prize. It was violently fought over by the Spartans who seized it, the Athenians who fiercely contested it, the Macedonians, and eventually, of course, the mighty Romans. Everyone wanted a piece of Byzantium because everyone realized that holding this city meant holding the absolute keys to the entire region's wealth and power.
But the entire trajectory of human history shifted on a dime in the monumental year 330 AD. That's the year the great Roman Emperor Constantine the Great looked at the map, looked at the, frankly, crumbling center of his current empire, and set his sights firmly on Byzantium. He realized that the future of his empire didn't actually lie in the West anymore, but right here, at the literal crossroads of the world.
Now, what's really interesting about this next move is the intentionality behind the number 7. When Constantine initiated the massive rebuilding and expansion of the city, he didn't just build it willy-nilly. He explicitly chose to construct it across 7 distinct hills. This was a highly calculated move designed specifically to mirror the 7 hills of Rome. He was sending a loud, completely undeniable message to the world. This wasn't just some new city. This was the new Rome.
So in 330 AD, Emperor Constantine quite literally renamed the whole city after himself, Constantinople. He officially turned it into the beating heart and capital of the Roman Empire. Constantinople became the definitive world capital, perfectly bridging the gap between East and West. It rapidly morphed into a super city that dwarfed the old city of Rome in its building majesty, its booming population, and its totally unimaginable wealth.
To truly understand the kind of wealth and cultural dominance this new world capital had, you really just have to look at its architectural majesty. Nothing anchors the narrative of Constantinople's glory quite like the Hagia Sophia. This wasn't just a building. It was the supreme, ultimate symbol of the empire's limitless resources and divine favor. It stood high above the skyline, visible to every single ship entering the Golden Horn,
projecting an aura of undeniable power.
And the sheer scale of this project? It's staggering. Building a wonder of this magnitude was a genuinely unbelievable feat. Ordered by Emperor Justinian and completed in 538 AD, the Hagia Sophia required an astonishing 10,000 workers, all toiling under the direction of 100 brilliant architects. Just picture that. Spanning roughly 270 feet in length and 240 feet in width, the absolute sheer volume of stone, marble, and gold poured into what was widely considered the greatest church in the world it's mind-blowing.
Let's see how this builds the next chapter of our story, though. Because you simply cannot amass that level of internal beauty and unimaginable wealth without attracting the envy of the entire known world. Constantinople was this glowing beacon of riches, which meant facing a very harsh reality. It required unprecedented, almost paranoid levels of protection. All that beauty inside had to be matched by some serious, formidable brawn on the outside.
So how exactly do you protect the richest city on Earth from a constant, endless wave of barbarian and imperial invaders? Well, you build the most massive, legendary defensive walls humanly possible. Constantinople was completely surrounded by hostile forces, from northern tribes to eastern empires, so the Romans had to engineer a way to defend the seemingly indefensible. They had to turn a bustling trade hub into a completely impenetrable military stronghold. And these weren't just your simple, run-of-the-mill barricades. The fortifications of Constantinople were an evolving masterpiece of military engineering. Originally laid down in part by ancient Greek kings, they were continually reinforced, thickened, and heavily rebuilt by successive Roman rulers. They completely enclosed the city in this incredibly intimidating blanket of stone. Featuring around 20 massive square towers and up to 47 heavily fortified gates, these walls were literally designed to break the spirit of any attacking army before they even notched an arrow.
Amazingly, it wasn't just human armies that tried to bring this city down. The earth itself tried to shake it to pieces. Despite suffering from incredibly devastating earthquakes, especially a couple of big ones in 413 AD and 557 AD that actually caused sections of the walls to collapse, the defenders always rapidly rebuilt them even stronger than before. Through nature's absolute wrath and relentless sieges from Persians, Avars, Arabs, and Bulgars, the city defiantly stood its ground, every single time.
So, the crucial point here is that for over a millennium, the genius combination of its Bosphorus geography, the safety of the Golden Horn, and these colossal, heavily fortified walls made this imperial capital completely unassailable. It was the definitive psychological and physical fortress. Armies would march for months to its gates, gaze up at the sheer, dizzying scale of those stone defenses, and basically realize that getting inside was a virtual impossibility.
But that leaves us with a truly dramatic cliffhanger. If Constantinople possessed the greatest geographic cheat code on the planet and was protected by walls that withstood 1,000 years of the most brutal sieges in human history, how did it eventually fall? How were these legendary, supposedly impenetrable walls finally breached, changing the map of the entire world forever? Well, that is exactly the suspenseful question we are going to answer in our next explainer. You absolutely will not want to miss it.